in the wilds of Massachusetts.
Destiny has brought me here, and it's not done with me. You know, I have many things left to do in this lifetime.
An oasis of peace, an ode to life.
I am somebody who is being channeled. Something's been created here on a monumental level that has come through me.
The Three Sisters Sanctuary. Nestled in a valley lies the picturesque village of Goshen, with 1,000 residents and a jewel of a garden, the Three Sisters Sanctuary, a place to relax, to unwind, or to escape.
Richard M. Richardson, environmental artist from the land of Goshen, curator and caretaker of the Three Sisters Sanctuary. I am an environmental artist who works in the media that incorporates nature, stone, and plants to create the art that I'm most comfortable with.
This vast sanctuary made up of gardens and sculptures spans 1.5 hectares or 161,000 square feet. To get in, you have to make an appointment. The cost of entry, $10. On average, 100 people visit the Three Sisters Sanctuary each week. Today, Bob Labrie, president of the local historical society and a volunteer firefighter, plans to explore the sanctuary. It's the first time he's walked the sanctuary's paths.
When I first walked into this space, you could see the intricate details in what's been laid out here. There are details like little matchbox cars and little people. It's thought-provoking. But the other thing that it made me think of was I've been to Europe before. This looks more like a spiritual place. Something like you would see in the cemeteries in Europe that you don't typically see here in the United States, where families would come and adorn the gravestones of family members. And I look at this, and it reminds me of that, because there are a lot of trinkets here that could be things that come from the family's past, or things that reminded the artist of an event or something in his sometime in his life.
The Goshen region is famous for its natural rocks, and nowhere are they more in the spotlight than here, where they're used not only in the construction of paths and patios, but in the framing of the very landscape. At the Three Sisters Sanctuary, simple stone is transformed into a work of art.
When you walk around, you see a lot of Goshen stone, which is something that you see in a lot of homes in this area, or a lot of places you can go to. You'll still see Goshen stone. But what I think Richard has done here is that he's taken it and turned it into a piece of art. As I walk into this space, I smile only because it's reminiscent of many homes in Goshen where you have a border of Goshen stone and a large white quartz stone in the middle. Much like our fire department, we have a wall of Goshen stone, and in the front of the station, we have a large white quartz rock with a plaque on it to commemorate the McRae station, the people who designed the fire station so many years ago. The dragon is awesome because once you look at it, you realize that it's a chimney. At first you don't see it, you see it as a piece of art. But then as you look and see the fireplace underneath it, you look up, you realize that it's a chimney. When I look at this, you realize the amount of hours that are involved in putting something like this together. And my sense is I have a better appreciation for the artist himself because of the intricate details that are in the dragon, and, just this whole structure.
What most surprises visitors is the sheer abundance of detail.
I knew that this was a big place, but the way it's set up, it's small in its arrangement. There are small little places that you can go to that gives you a sense that this is a much smaller place than it really is. Having been here, this is the kind of place that I want to come back for more. Just like Goshen, coming back to the same place, you're going to find different things each time you come that you missed the first time you were here. Like here, I see the bird inside the bird cage that I missed the first time around. There are so much details in the stonework and the artwork that I've seen here today that I would love to come back and spend more time just to look at each square inch of the place.
Goshen is located in the Pioneer Valley, 185 kilometers or 115 miles from Boston. This typical New England village has kept true to its heritage. There is a general store, a municipal library, a city hall, and a fire station. Not far beyond it lies the Lower Highland Lake, a small body of water kept pristine by devoted locals.
Goshen is a town that's made up of just over 1,000 people. It used to have farmers here. There aren't too many farms around anymore. We often joke that the only thing that Goshen grows anymore are the stones that come out of the ground.
We're close to attractions like the Mount Sugarloaf, the Connecticut River Valley, the Shelburne Falls Bridge of Flowers is the only bridge of flowers in the world, and it's right down the road within 5 miles, and it's exquisite.
Near Goshen is the Daughters of the Revolution National Forest, a 7 square kilometer or 2.7 square mile park that attracts campers and outdoor enthusiasts alike. It is this unique setting that attracted Richard Richardson to the region some 40 years ago.
Destiny has been the most significant part of my world. I drove into this little town of Goshen in 1972, and I drove into a world of beautiful greenery and typical New England town, and I thought to myself, if I could live anywhere, this would be where I would choose. The only house I ever looked at buying is this house that the sanctuary is built on. When I purchased this home, I knew that this was not a starter home. It was not the beginning of the next step in my life, that I had arrived where I was meant to be. And the house was really no more than a wooden tent. It did not have a central heating system. It did not have a septic system. It had a structure with a couple windows in it and a wall. I took on the project of turning that into a home, which took me 20 years of my life. In those 20 years, I had 2 children born in the house. For me to have my children in this house was a true gift.
Upon arrival, Richard immediately saw the possibilities afforded to him by this immense land. The first step was starting a business. He opened a shop that sold and repaired antique stoves.
I built the stove company over there. In the first 10 years of living here, I had a gypsy carpenter build the building for me, and he got it completed, but we had no windows, we had no doors, and we had no floor. The house and the stove company took me 20 years of my life. What I didn't realize was in those 20 years, it had fulfilled another need for me, which is that I'm a very creative individual. There was something about me that I like to have the vision and then watch the vision turn into reality. I took a year off and I thought to myself, something would pop into mind. And instead, I was very, very bored.
But life stepped in to end his lack of inspiration. Richard's brother made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
My brother and I stood up on my deck, and I was looking out on this barren piece of land. And my brother said to me, "Why don't you and I go out and we'll install some gardens?" And my brother at that time was sick. We both knew that he didn't have a lot of time left in his world. He was terminally ill with cancer, and the clock was ticking. So we came out, and he worked with me during the summer and the fall, and we installed 3 gardens. And that very winter, in the month of December, December 10th, my brother passed away. I held his hand as he took his last breath, and I said goodbye to somebody that was very, very important to me in life.
And how I loved you so. Oh, let's watch our rivers flow.
When spring came, those gardens came up. And when I saw those 3 gardens, I could hear my brother saying to me, "Brother, go out there and take care of those gardens. This is my gift to you. If you tend these gardens, you will heal your soul. You will heal your grief. You will be able to let me go little by little, and you'll find the light at the end of the tunnel."
The cultivating of his garden had a therapeutic effect on him, but once his wounds were healed, he was ready for a new challenge. Next, Richardson launched himself into landscaping.
I watched those gardens in 3 years start to grow and get larger, and I thought to myself, I don't know about this. So I made a conscious decision after 3 years to switch from gardening to what they call hardscape.
This involved more than just the installation of a patio. He literally created a unique environment where stones transformed nature into art.
And it was interesting to watch him sort of shift identities and mediums a little bit and learn how to move from vegetation and plants into rock, and how it necessitated all sorts of engineering challenges and ideas.
We would come out here with strings, spray paint, and try to envision how it would look, where things would go. And if it worked, it worked, and if it didn't, it didn't.
So I spent the first 10 years creating a number of outdoor rooms and garden follies, and finding myself rewarded almost every time I did a new section or a new part of it.
You know, it required exploring not only his creative mind, but his engineering mind that had previously maybe been underutilized or not fully grasped. It's great.
Very conventional people would find it odd, but if you're just a little bit unconventional, it's extraordinary.
Destiny has brought me here, and it's not done with me. It's not done. I'm not done. You know, I have many things left to do in this lifetime.
I think that's an interesting thing.
This one piece will make 52 layers.
Watch on mobile devices or the big screen. All for free. No subscription required.
This beautiful sanctuary lost in the Massachusetts countryside is more than a tribute to the surrounding nature. It also tells the saga of a family, as the evolution of the space is intimately linked to Richardson's life.
I've named the Three Sisters Sanctuary after my 3 daughters. My middle daughter is Sarah Winona, and she had such great potential. And I asked her if she would come to work for me in her senior year.
My father came down to visit me at work one day, and he said, "Sarah, my daughter, I love you. Won't you come consider working with me over at the Good Time Stove Company? I could really use some help in the office." And I said, "No problem."
The stove company, I've always said I'm a lucky man. I have a wife, which is the Good Time Stove Company, that has been in my life 40 years as of this year. Sarah allowed me the freedom to find the time to build the Three Sister Sanctuary. and my youngest daughter is Megan Elizabeth. Megan realized that she was an artist at the age of 17 when she did her first art project, and helped me find the artist in me. This piece here is a mosaic that has both of our names on it, Richardson Labonte, and it's the first mosaic that we did together. I love it. People say, I see where your daughter gets her creativity, and I say just the opposite. My daughter instilled in me the creativity that I didn't know was lying quietly waiting for me to embrace it.
In 2004, fate would strike once more.
My eldest daughter, Tina Marie, was the second evolution in the sanctuary. She passed away 10 years ago. When I lost my daughter, I came to grips with what my purpose in life was, to help relieve others the same grief that I was feeling at that moment in time.
Since my sister passed, that turned my eyes and my heart to how very painful that experience is, and how profoundly, not only moving, but how much it changes you and your family.
I realized at that point that the sanctuary was to continue. I realized at that point that it was to be deemed a healing sanctuary.
This became a place of healing. Tina Marie used to love to come here for our functions, and her spirit is always here. And this is to commemorate her life, and my sister's as well.
I think that people do take seriously the theme of healing that Richard emphasizes. I mean, a number of people have used it in a similar way. Sarah was telling me about some people who created 3 new mannequins for the environment based on an accident in which one of their friends had died.
The heartbreaking loss of a loved one pushed Richardson even deeper into his art. And so began the development of the second sanctuary.
Then moved forward to building this last half of the sanctuary that has been going on for the last 10 years.
I had absolutely no idea how large it was going to become, or the vision that was behind it.
And Richard's remarkable resilience is worthy of an epic hero, says longtime friend Mark Carpo.
About 14 years ago, I found that I was very interested in the character of Don Quixote. And I realized that what I loved were his characteristics. He has no business doing what he's doing, but he is determined to do it anyway. He doesn't care if anybody tells him that he's crazy and he's an old man. He intends to do something amazing and impossible. And I realize that there are a lot of people who have those characteristics. We call them Quixotics.
This piece of property consists of 8 acres. I had intended on keeping it in a 2-acre plot in order to create boundaries for myself, but I broke all of the rules and broke all the boundaries.
They have no formal training as artists. They are extremely audacious. They are obsessive, but they're also playful, which, as a psychologist, I can tell you is not a trait you find in obsessives very much. That's quite unusual. But they feel it's perfectly natural for them to spend 10 to 30 years creating art.
I seem to remember thinking that it would just be a typical landscaping job, but slowly, as it progressed, I realized that this vision was a lot larger than I had anticipated.
Despite the titanic amount of work involved in creating and maintaining this sanctuary, Richard has never thought of giving up, even in the most difficult times.
I find the time because I live here. I find the time because I work here. I find the time because I have a passion for what I do and am willing to follow that passion, sometimes blindly.
In 20 years, Richard Richardson has not taken a single day off. He works every day to make the Three Sisters Sanctuary a place of wonder.
Even right now, as I take on projects in the sanctuary, I get up in the morning, I live by myself, I have a cup of coffee, and I run out to the area I'm working in.
Every morning, a new challenge awaits him.
I watch the sun rise, and I stand there and I look at it and I think, it's there, it's coming together. The life of it is springing to life.
And Richard is not the only one who takes pleasure in seeing his sanctuary transform.
Watching your dad work with a bunch of other people's with machinery and rocks and artistic, creative spirit is out of this world. It is just too much fun.
He comes up with ideas, he'll out of nowhere, he'll come up and he'll say, can we do this? Yeah, okay. You know, you gotta think about it for a second, and when you think about it, you can do it.
Yeah, you can see it stood up much better.
Sometimes it's like watching them dance, like when they set the tall vertical stones and they're almost like ballerinas as they get them like set just so, and then everyone walks away and is amazed to see it happen.
We've set over 250 stones, and out of 250 stones, we've probably had no more than 5 in 10 years that have fallen.
Over the years, Michael Sampson became a key collaborator, hugely instrumental in the creation of the sanctuaries.
Mike, that tree on the end works so beautifully with these, you know, like it really feels like it belongs right there. I think at first Mike was just here because he was being paid to be here, but he now has an appreciation for the stone, he has an eye for it, and he wants to see it work.
I do have to share the same love affair for these rocks because, I mean, they're all here. To dig these up and to replace them, to bring them up on top of the ground instead of being buried, it's incredible. I mean, you can sit there and look at some of these and actually see them. Some of these rocks have names.
The stone is mud sediments at the bottom of an ocean that are 480 to 450 million years old, and I had a long time trying to wrap my head around that.
We know these rocks, I mean, have the same love affair, yeah. They're great. They're really, really great.
The majority of what our stone is used for is outside landscaping, for patios, walls. Some people use it for fireplaces inside and outside of the house. We've had quite a few projects where people have had us cut the stone with chainsaws to make different shapes for hearths or outside art.
Extracting these huge stones from the earth is one thing. Placing them is another. It is at this level that the artist and the excavator work as a team.
Both Mike and I consider ourselves matchmakers to the stones. When we pick stones, they have to be compatible. It's very important to us to know that this stone and this stone feel right together, that we've chosen the side that is going to be seen from either side, how you're going to look at them.
Some stones will talk to you. They'll actually physically talk to you and tell you that I don't want to be stood up.
Putting up the stones has actually become easier. In the beginning, it was much more difficult. We did not have the machinery we do today, but it got done. And thankfully, everybody has all their hands and their feet and fingers.
We fought with a few of them 2 hours, try to get that thing to stand up, and it's not gonna. Take the stone, toss it off the side, find something different to do.
You get to see, again, this sort of teamwork as they come together and really, as far as I'm concerned, impressive feats of engineering as they make these stones do what is truly nothing less than magic.
Magic, or simply the beauty of art. Who knows? Everyone agrees that the arrangement of the stones compels an emotional reaction.
People come here and they are moved by the stone. They are moved by the placement of the stones. They are moved by the way it flows.
At the end of the day, what's created is incredible. But to take it out of his mind, put it into my mind, and put it onto paper, you know, put it out here like this, the feeling is incredible. I mean, because we're moving 6,000-pound rocks and standing these things up, which nature never made these things to stand up. We're making them stand up.
Another successful day in the world of Richard Richardson and Mike Sampson.
That's about what it is.
The man, the myth, the legend, marvelous Mike Sampson. Love that bell.
A visit to the Three Sisters Sanctuary with its creator is like a journey into the past, into his life. Here, the stones tell a story.
As I came into the sanctuary, I built this structure right here, and it was the first time that I experimented with creating a theme. Stones and spears that are reaching out to the sky in a circle that symbolize the energy that our lifetime takes.
To describe the Three Sisters Sanctuary in one sentence feels like a nearly impossible task. And I find myself frequently saying that if a picture is worth 1,000 words, then even a picture doesn't quite capture this experience. So I don't think I would be doing the space justice if I were to try and do that. But all I can say is that it truly is a space of inspired art and healing love.
What you see in here is the wishing dragon, and all of those ribbons are for when people come to visit the sanctuary. They're given an opportunity to leave a wish behind.
You know, in America, we have what we call a roadside attraction. And especially with the Tin Man standing outside the stove shop, it's so extraordinary. Nobody's ever seen anything like this.
As we walk through here, one of my favorite sculptures, again, has to do with water and the symbolism of water and the beauty of women and the way they're shaped. Ooh. I really love this piece. I love her. I love how she just sits over the garden, gently says nothing, but has great meaning.
Some arrangements simply prompt reflection, even inner peace.
There are 44 stones to make up this infinity circle. And inside of this infinity circle in the center are these two large quartz. They give and they take energy. And you close your eyes, you will immediately feel the tingling on both sides of your fingertips as the energy between these two stones pass through your fingers. The tree house with this is earth, fire, water, birch man in the background. I call it a tree house, but I'm afraid of heights, so I decided to build it on the ground. This way I can use it. This is my outdoor dining room over here. It's got a wonderful French-Canadian feel, like New Orleans, you know, when you look at the fretwork there, you know, it's got all of that going for it. To the right of it and to the left of it are the windows into my gardens. My dear mother came to visit me. She looked at this stone and she said to me, "I see a wolf in that stone." And I didn't know what to say about it because I don't see the wolf. But I kind of find it exciting that at 84 she could see a wolf in there. These grasses are still still growing. This type of grass is going to grow to be another 2 feet. I find them to be incredibly sensual, and I find them to be romantic. I find them to be nature's gift to us when they sing to you.
Visionary environments are very paradoxical. Every one is completely unique. They're utterly idiosyncratic, like nothing else on Earth. And yet, all of these people, without knowing anything about each other, are all using pretty similar materials. They take this stuff that we call trash, and they turn it into treasure.
And right here is one of my favorite projects that I did, which was building the dragon and the dragon's den. And when you have a fire here in this fire pit, the smoke comes up his mouth and bellows out his mouth. So it's a wonderful, wonderful life.
Anyone who creates an environment like this is saying, I don't care who you think I am an artist. I create art.
And the pièce de résistance?
Area we're about to enter into, I had built it before my daughter had passed away. And I did not know why I was building it. It was the first time I had a calling where I felt a need to build something without logic and without reason. And my eldest daughter, Tina Marie, took me by the hand and she took me into this room and she says, Dad, she goes, there's something really wonderful happening in your life. I really love what you've done here and I really want you to continue to explore your creativity. And I think you're at a point in your life where there might be a transition that's coming. Don't run from it, embrace it. And she passed away 30 days later. And all of a sudden I understood why I had built this room. And that was that it was to be the resting place for my daughter.
The Three Sisters Sanctuary has enabled Richardson to survive the most painful of ordeals.
When my father started building the sanctuary, it was following the loss of his brother. So we had a sense that it was, you know, within our family being used for sort of our own healing and our own grief and our own process. And that continued for a while, and when 10 years later Tina passed, it sort of really brought a lot of things into focus and made this project very clear that it was truly a space for not only our family, but for other families and other people to heal and process grief.
The creator of the Three Sisters Sanctuary now wants to give back to his community. Today, we officially celebrate the 20th anniversary of the sanctuary. All Richardson's neighbors and friends are invited.
Woo, 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 woo. It doesn't get any better than that, and that's how I feel about it. It's like I live in my art, I live among artists, I live in a community that overwhelms me with love.
Celebrating 20 years of doing anything is a huge accomplishment, let alone making art and following your heart's passion. So it was really exciting to put together an event to honor 20 years of doing that.
The event is called Heartsong. Artists and musicians from across Massachusetts are invited to share their recent work.
I think what my father envisioned for this place was a place of healing and a place that community could gather. Now it's evolved into artists being able to use it as a canvas to display their art and their love of art.
We invited 5 sculpture artists who each have unique and beautiful art and sculptures that are going to be on display.
The work behind me is Bill Tobin, who truly speaks of abstract art and its sense of your understanding what it takes in a man's mind to create art.
as well as 5 bands that spread from Hampshire County to Franklin County to Berkshire County, which is pretty much all of Western Massachusetts.
It's hard for me to imagine it's all here. It's just so hard for me to imagine. You know, when did it all happen? And when did this dream come to reality? I'm a very, very lucky artist because today you saw it, there are people everywhere. So I'm rewarded really continually and inspired by them. They ignite a fire in me that says, keep going. You know, you're not done.
My connection with Richard has gone on for the past 20 years. But when I stand out in this place, I'm impressed because it keeps changing every time I come here. If I were forced to sum up Richard's work in one sentence, I would say it is an assertion of self, a search for transcendence, a labor of love, and an invitation for admiration, but also in Richard's case, for people to participate and enjoy.
I lived out a dream today. You know, the dream was art being in my installation, music, people who appreciated what is here. And the gift of my community, a place I love with all of my heart, something I will remember for the rest of my life, and something I hope will happen regularly. When it comes to teamwork, my daughter has the patience of a god as she watches me first thing this morning go through my anxiety meltdown and wonder, is anybody gonna come? You know, how's this gonna work? And yet this wonderful daughter of mine, who is truly her father's gift, has allowed me the freedom to be the artist that I've become today. And without her, I would have never had that. And I love her with all my heart.
What I find most impressive about my father's work here is his persistence to chase something that is financially giving him no gain and pushing forward regardless to that. Just raw ambition.
20 years spent shaping and sculpting the landscape. But what happens when there's no more space to work with?
We are closing in. I mean, you know, we don't have that much more left. We don't have that much more land left. And I really need more time to spend on the next part of this, which is to figure out how to make it self-sustaining and how to figure out how to preserve it past my lifetime. Right now, I'm young and ambitious, but, you know, the clock is ticking, like it or not, you know. Time will go by, and before you know it, you know, it'll be 15 years from now, and I'll be 80 years old. But when I'm 90 and I'm not here, I want to make sure that it's preserved. I want to make sure that this isn't just something that gets consumed by nature.
Richardson maintains a bed and breakfast for visiting tourists or those wishing to relax in the gardens for a few days.
Three Sisters Sanctuary has been so warmly embraced by the community, by Western Massachusetts, that its future is bright and sunny and colorful and vibrant.
I would envision in the future this area to make people happy, to make people want to go out of their way to stop into a small little town like Goshen to see this place. As far as its growth, I would love to see more artists be able to display their art here, to be able to express themselves, and be able to keep that going for, you know, however long it goes.
The Richardson-Labonte family, I think, is destined to have a very long legacy, not only from the standpoint of the stoves and preserving a piece of American history that might otherwise be lost. We have made this beautiful space that is built from materials that have existed long before us and will likely exist long after us.
And as for Richard's retirement, his friends refuse to believe it.
Richard says that as soon as this is done, it'll be over, and I think that's nonsense. If he did end it, he would have to start doing something else. It's work that is play. It's very satisfying because it's creative, and it really gives meaning to life. And so I could be wrong, but I don't think he'll stop.
This is going to sound a little weird and a little off the wall, but I am somebody who's being channeled. I have no background in landscaping. I have no background in art, but yet something's been created here on a monumental level that has come through me. So I go around the corners and I say, wow, okay. And then I find myself going around the next corner, which isn't finished. And something says, here, stop, think about it this way. So I spend every day exploring my life and seeing what it is that's waiting for me to do next.
My father's a man on a mission, and his mission is to catch the vision. Whether he knows exactly what that is, I don't know. But I think he's more than halfway there.
I guess it will depend on how I continue to be channeled and whether or not the gods want me to continue to move forward on this. So there's a closing to this part of it. It's sad for me, but I gotta stop it sooner or later. 20 years feels like enough anyway. I mean, that's been a long commitment to any one project, and I would not have thought it would have taken 20 years. So, you know, that's the way it is.